You ready for the video?
Hell yeah.
Let's do it, man.
Let's do it.
I think is an improper
gotta wait
way
and
of
see.
looking at
Okay.
the world. I know in South India,
It's all relative.
living in a cave was a luxury.
Wow.
So, poverty is not necessarily in terms of whether you have a car to drive or not, whether you have a big house to live or not.
I don't think is the right answer. Like, I don't think he knows all the answers. He's definitely extremely well spoken, and how he delivers his message is very concise, yet
Present practice. What's conscious? This is Vish and
again,
and today we'll be responding to Sadhguru's video on
why poverty and suffering.
I'm an aspiring yogi. I've been meditating for over 4 years now. Love all things meditation, wisdom, and yoga based. And today I'm grateful to have Gen on the show. Want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, man. My name is Gen, and I have a YouTube channel. Check it out.
Have you heard of Sadhguru before?
I've seen him around, like, through just like circulating through social media, but I've never like really watched his stuff. No.
Okay.
All right, let's get straight into the video.
Why is there poverty and suffering in the world? See, one thing is poverty, the way we describe poverty right now is very, dependent upon certain standards that we have set ourselves. Who is poor, who is rich is decided by certain standards that certain societies have set. 10,000 years ago,
It's all relative.
living in a cave was a luxury. If you had a good cave for yourself and something to cover yourself, it was a great life. Today, we have created so many things for our well-being, so anybody who cannot afford to have that, we consider that poverty. So what's poverty in one society need not be poverty in another society. So this trying to have a world view of common sense of poverty, saying that if you earn anything less than $10 per hour, you're poor,
Do you agree so far?
I think is an improper
gotta wait
way
and
of
see.
looking at
Okay.
the world. I know in South India, if a man earns $2 per day, not per hour, he can live well. He can live reasonably okay. The kind of prosperity that we are talking about, our standards of prosperity are completely unrealistic and ecologically unsustainable. So this idea of poverty and prosperity needs to go through a lot of change. I come from a culture where people have chosen many times, not now, many times to be consciously poor by choice. This is a culture where kings have chosen to walk as beggars.
Wow.
So, poverty is not necessarily in terms of whether you have a car to drive or not, whether you have a big house to live or not. That's not so. Definitely the world is poor because in spite of all this wealth, in spite of all this comfort and conveniences that science has heaped upon us, still people are living joyless, still people are living not knowing how to live. We know how to go to the Mars, but we still don't know how to live on this planet. That's definitely poverty.
So again, what'd you think after watching this first video of Sadhguru of yours?
Yeah, that was interesting. He's definitely extremely well spoken, and how he delivers his message is very concise yet very profound. I guess initially when you asked me during mid-reaction, like, I had to kind of wait and see, because I think in the beginning I was like, like immediately I think being an American, I was like, no, I think like always wanting to strive for more is good, but I think that also becomes a never-ending pursuit where happiness never doesn't really become a destination, but becomes kind of like this carrot in front of your head where you'll never reach it. I think having ambition is good, but it also should be tailored to the fact that you should be happy where you are right now as you continue to strive for more. I think like a good thing that I like to remind myself is like, I am enough, or like I have enough. that doesn't mean that like I'm not striving for more, but right now what I have is abundant while still chasing abundance even more and more. And then in terms of poverty, that's actually so true, because I think you mentioned it during mid-reaction, how it's relative. Mm-hmm. Because let's say, for example, you're living on a street and everyone, I guess, has like the same amount of resources, money, but let's say if one person like gets like a brand new car or something, immediately everyone else in the street would be like, oh shit, like I need to get something as good as that, or I need to continue to strive for more. So I think a lot of money is definitely relative, where I guess you're only as rich as who you surround yourself with and how you compare yourself with, because there's always going to be people who are more rich or have more resources than you.
Thank you so much for sharing again. Those are absolutely great points. And yeah, I would definitely agree quite a bit with what you're saying and resonate with that too. It is definitely relative, right, at the end. And I think it's interesting. What I really appreciate about him, in fact, going off what you said earlier with the idea that he's very good with his words and his delivery, for example, which I would agree with too. And that's why, in fact, he's just really grown so fast, in fact, on the social media game. Like he has that wisdom, but I think the key is if you have it but you can't share it, there's no real point in it spreading, right? Or it's not going to spread well. And so I would agree with that. And I really like the way he, before he even asked about poverty and prosperity, he was trying to break down what that even means, right? So what do you think about that approach of, I guess, his approach of answering the question? Because I know at least a lot of people do say that he's never usually too direct with his answers. Do you feel the same way? And how do you feel about his way of talking?
That's a good question. I think something as profound as that, you can't explain it in a 2-minute video or 3-minute video, right? And I think there is no right answer, because at the end of the day, something like a big topic like poverty and prosperity is what you make of it. So I think the way he's delivering it is how I think it's open-ended in the sense that you can interpret it however you want, because I don't think is the right answer. Like, I don't think he knows all the answers. He doesn't know the truth. I don't think anyone does. So I think in that sense, I think his delivery was on point.
Yes, I'm really grateful that you mentioned that. So, no, that's a great point, again, because I agree 100% again with you. And I think you really nailed it on the spot. A lot of these deep questions about life, right, and just being profound, and these are deep questions, and I don't even know, like you said, if there is an answer, number one. Number two, if words can do it justice and even just explain the unexplainable, number two. And number three, I think, one-liners, and as Sadhguru says this actually, if he were to say, for example, let's say he does know the truth, right, if he does, and he says, he's asked a simple question, just a deep one, the meaning of life, right, whatever that means, and then he gives you a one-liner, according to him, that's not doing it justice, because at the end, you hearing that one-liner means nothing until you actually experience the meaning of life. There's no point of talking about it. It's all about the experiencing. Because then once you talk about it, then that leads you to believing in something. And so whether you believe in something or disbelieve in something, you both don't know if you think about it. Because whether you're an atheist or, let's say, a believer in God, both don't know about the truth of God, if God's there or not. So would you say you agree with most of what I've just shared?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, personally, I don't think there is no such thing as objective truth that humans can understand at the moment. So,
do you think there is an objective truth, but that we just can't understand it, or do you think there's no truth at all?
Hard to say, but I think if I had to answer, I would have to say the former, in that, yeah, there is an objective truth, but we can't understand it.
What if we just said that we don't know if there's an objective truth? Why do we have to say that we think there is or there isn't?
Yeah, I would say that's the best answer. Yeah.
Agreed. And the same principle applies to even like what I was saying with God, right? I mean, a lot of people, before I actually get into that, do you have a religious background, or do you have views on God? Like, do you believe in God or not believe in God?
I believe in a higher power. Religion isn't important to me. If it makes you live a good life, great. But, as in how atheism can even become a religion, I don't even want to put a label to this higher power that I believe in, because even that becomes like a group. Any sort of time you put a label on yourself, you kind of associate with a group, and that also comes with its own ideas. And
do you think groups are bad?
No, I don't think groups are bad. I think it's our natural inclination as humans. We're social beings, but it can be bad if you stop thinking independently.
It's like mob mentality.
Yeah, Yeah.
That makes sense. And yeah, just to kind of finish off that last point that I was mentioning with, even believing in God, as I mentioned earlier, yeah, whether you believe in it or you don't believe in it, we tend to have this going back to the human nature, right, which is, really inclined towards social, connection and so on. We also have this it's called the human ego, right, which is the, inclination to have this false sense of identity or even just understanding of everything, right? Which is why, not to, pinpoint certain religions, for example, but I think a lot of the time certain religions will make up these things, and whether it's true or not is not the point, but it's, I think, a reflection of the human egoic mind that wants to think it knows everything.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's, not wrong to just say, for example, with the truth, is there a truth? Just say, I don't know. Or is there a God? I don't know. We don't need to pick a side. But that's that last point, and I wanted to quickly kind of dive a bit deeper into what you had mentioned, right, with regards to you don't think anyone has the truth, or I don't think anyone has the answers. What do you mean by that?
Well, because our version of truth is just made up of our own perspectives, experiences, and the story that we've lived in our heads. So, if everyone's truth is the truth, then I don't think there's such thing as truth out there. Like, okay, perfect example that I like to bring up is, okay, let me make it abundantly clear. Obviously, Hitler was a bad person in my mind, and what he did was terrible. And, I think a lot of the world would agree. But to be honest, in his own story, he was the hero. And so did a lot of the Germans that joined his party. They all viewed him as heroes. So at the end of the day, you can never say that there is a good or a bad, because everyone in their mind is the hero of their own story.
Perfectly said, man. So I think, if we were to break that question of, actually, before I get into that, what does the truth even mean? Like, how would you define the truth?
I don't know. Like we said, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how it.
Good answer.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good answer as well. Again, saying I don't know is, as he says, Sadhguru, actually a very powerful thing. It opens up the possibilities for that truth, whatever that truth is. But yeah, no, that's a good question, a good point. Although it's maybe a bit controversial with the whole Hitler statement, I would agree quite a bit again with you. At the same time, that's where this might trigger, right? Maybe certain people, but I think it's important to just be aware and conscious, right, of that triggering within yourself, which is the emotional reaction. And that's the idea that, if someone were to say Hitler wasn't that bad, that might trigger some people. And I think that's, again, going back to what you said, bad or good is such a subjective thing, right? And so like you mentioned, I think a great point is back in that time when people were with Hitler and following him, that was their version, right, of what was good. And in fact, again, Sadhguru says this too, which is the idea that, what is it, man? The road paved to hell is paved through the best of intention. What do you think of that statement?
Yeah, I think it's true. And again, let's make it abundantly clear. I think Hitler's a piece of asshole, obviously. But I think that's very true.
Yeah, no, let's make that clear as well. Same thing with, what Gen was saying. I think y'all get our points, and if you don't, I actually would love to hear what you think about what we're talking about so far in the comments down below. Whether you agree with us, disagree with us, again, it's an open platform. I really value transparency and open freedom discussion, freedom of speech. Again, just don't forget to comment down below. And I guess before we wrap this up, do you think, after watching this video about, poverty and prosperity, do you think you have a better idea or like a clear direction maybe of what that could mean and what it means to you?
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think my stance is still pretty clear, is that I think you should always strive to be better, strive to, get more. But at the end of the day, I always think about this, even if I get to this destination that I think I want in my head, those problems won't ever go away. You got to kind of deal with that now. And, this like destination of happy doesn't just happen. I think it just happens in the pursuit of whatever makes you, whatever desire that you want. Like, I don't know if I'm explaining this right, but for me, I derive the most happiness going after like my purpose and my goals. But I know that once I get to that aforementioned number or, short-term goal, I'm happy for like a little bit, but then I'm like, yeah, I want the next thing. What I've actually realized is that happiness usually comes from that process of attaining that goal. So keeping that in mind, I think really goes along with that topic of poverty and prosperity, in that you kind of have to be very conscious or else it can ruin you.
Well, great insight again. I appreciate you again for sharing and just being here. And I want to remind the viewers where they can find you, and again, just a bit more about yourself again.
Yeah, for sure. You can find me at my channel name Gen, which is my personal name, obviously.
Link down below.
And you'll be able to find all different types of topics, whether it be through mini documentaries that I explore, through interviews. Yeah, check out my channel, and we'd love to see you guys there.
Yeah, show them some love. And with that, if you have any other video reaction requests, you can also comment down below. And if you have any other personality types that you want on the show, also comment down below. With that, make a great day, take it joyfully, and stay conscious. Awesome job again. You did great.
Thank you.
Awesome job.